As Christian parents, one of the things we want to end up with is kids that walk with Jesus. But if we want to raise good and godly kids, one of the things we have to keep in mind is what we seek most is what we're most likely to get. And we live in a culture that has such an emphasis on maximizing potential that it very often happens that we become unaware that the number one thing we're actually seeking, when you take a look at the checkbook, the calendar, and our time, is we are seeking peak performance kids rather than good and godly kids. You can see it in our focus on academics sometimes, our focus on club programs, all of these things that at the end of the day are trying to make sure our kid gets into the best college or has the best opportunity athletically or musically or performing and whatever it is that they have a gift. But what's most important is not the high school rewards that a child might get, not the good job or the good college they might get into. It's what are they like when they're in their 30s? What are they like when they're in their 40s? That's what you're really raising. So at the end of the day, one of the things I want to encourage you to do is to make sure you're asking the question, are we putting a priority on peak performance? Or are we putting a priority on godliness? When they have a major test, are we so inclined to make sure they get the great grade that we move them away from the great influence of kids in a youth group or church and things? Are we so into making sure they have a championship potential that we move them away from the things that make sure they have spiritual potential? We are going to get what we seek most. Not what we say we're seeking, but what we actually seek.